Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives. And yes, welcome to the March 19th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Of course, you can also go to our heartlandsignal.com platform and check us out there. But email me at richard@wcpt820.com, and I'll respond. Maybe not immediately, but I'll get to it. And catch me on Substack. Just posted a new article yesterday, so check that out. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's where you can get Choose Views short version and long version. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and, of course, Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. Yes, lots of good stuff there. Make sure you're passing it along. We have some really interesting clips that Henry and I put together that I think you guys will appreciate today. But, hey, listen, it's a busy day. At 6:30, we have president of Working Women's History Project. That would be none other than Amy Lakin. Again, the president of the Working Women's History Project. And then at 7 o'clock, we have our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. He's been busy this past week, being at a couple of events and being interviewed on one of the podcasts on Instagram that I think you guys will dig. I'm talking about that today. And then Cheryl Johnson, who is the executive director of People for Community Recovery. Looking forward to speaking with Cheryl again, so that'll be a really wonderful opportunity to talk about her local organization and its impact on the region. Same as always, local organizations and their impact on the region, if not the country. So, yeah, that's who we have with us this morning, and I'm looking forward to that today. Also, as always, live, local, and progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to Amanda Marcotte, senior writer at Salon.com, and Spencer Critchley, author of Patriots of Two Nations. Live, local, and progressive, that's Joan today, 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT. Tonight, 5 to 7 p.m., Patty Vasquez will be joined by psychologist and author Susanna Flores and Elmhurst Councilman Guido Nardini. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, 5 to 7 today. Check her out, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then tomorrow's show, we'll have Eamon Whalen, who's a writer with Mother Jones, and contributor Kurt Herner will be with me talking with Dr. Chick Kanfora, professional in residence at the School of Media and Journalism at Kent State. I'm going to talk a little bit about where some current media events in relationship to some previous media events. It'll be an interesting interview, and then we'll have one of our veterans stopping in with us, Mike Williams. So there you go. And always make sure to check out our podcast over at heartlandsignal.com, where you can catch my previous broadcast on my show page. Just click on my face, click on my picture, and there you go. The May 3rd event, I want to remind you guys, tickets are now on sale for our May 3rd anniversary broadcast at Max and Benny's Restaurant. That's a deli and bakery in Northbrook. Hal Sparks, Joan Esposito, Scott Duff, Patty Vasquez, and I will be there broadcasting live from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. with special guests. Learn more and get your tickets by visiting heartlandsignal.com/anniversary. Tickets are $20 each. Hurry. They're almost gone. Love to see you guys there. It'll be a nice, fun day to hang out with you. So looking forward to that. But for now, we are going to keep moving it forward today and just let you know, as busy as we have it, we always want to remind you, as busy of a show that we have this morning, we want to remind you to make sure that you're getting your tickets for the anniversary event and that you're plugging into our WCPT progressive lineup. And, of course, that includes the Stephanie Miller Show, Following Me, my radio sister on the West Coast, the Tom Hartman Show, the Professor of Everything Progressive, and then, of course, Joan and Patty. Got to plug in, guys. It's got always good stuff with my colleagues, both here and on the West Coast. So there you go. Excuse me. Got a little, I don't know if it's a frog or whatever, but a little something going on. Again this morning to remind you, if you are driving northbound on the Kennedy from downtown or through downtown Chicago, give yourself a few extra minutes because there is construction that's already started. So just give yourself a few extra minutes. You'll be happy that you did. And I was just saying to Henry that it's going to be rainy today. So starting around 11 o'clock or noon, if you're in Chicago, it is going to be raining for the afternoon. So grab that umbrella, grab that raincoat, and give yourself a little extra time if you're going to be out and about. So just be mindful of that in your hangings out today and whatever you're doing. Let's hit them with some Choose Views news. Henry, what do you think? All right, sounds good. March 19th, 2025. The U.S. moves to reinstate fired workers. The Trump administration says it's bringing back the roughly 25,000 probational employees it had fired across 18 agencies, at least temporarily. Officials said in court filings late Monday that most of the workers who typically served in their roles for less than a year were being placed on temporary administrative leave. But full reinstatement was ordered last week by a federal judge who said the mass firings to shrink the federal government violated federal regulations. This was interesting, Henry. The U.S. births dropped to a 4-decade low. Interesting, but not surprising. There are 3.6 million babies born in the U.S. in 2023, the lowest number since 1979, where 3.5 million births were recorded. The data published yesterday by the National Center for Health Statistics also reflects a decline in the general fertility rate to the lowest level since the data began being collected back in 1909. 54.5 births per 1,000 women. That's what the U.S. posted and said that the trend towards smaller families, though, mirrors a dramatic slowdown also seen in other parts of the world from Europe to China. And the birth rates have been down, according to the European Union, and also data from the country of China. BYD accelerates rivalry with Tesla. This is one that I really am going to pay attention to. Tesla's market valuation has plummeted over $700 billion since its December peak. I wonder what happened in January. And further pressure is mounting on Chinese as Chinese rival BYD unveils its latest EV tech, a rapid charging system that claims to be twice as fast as Tesla's superchargers. Shares of BYD soared to a record high on the news, with the company saying it will build over 4,000 ultra-fast charging units across China. BYD sold 1.7 million cars in 2024, narrowly trailing Tesla's 1.79. And I saw a video of one of their particular vehicles. OMG, Henry. I mean, I got to tell you, they definitely are marching up the road when it comes to their competition with Tesla. I've seen some of their vehicles online, and they're very impressive. In any event, Frontier Airlines aims itself at Southwest. And what does that mean? Frontier Airlines is flying where Southwest no longer goes. By offering free check bags and assigned seating, at least for now, budget carrier Frontier Airlines will offer the perks until March 24th for travel through August 18th. It will also offer free bag checking during the summer. The promotion comes hard on the heels of Southwest Airlines' decision to end the benefits for which it had become known as part of its Love and Hearts branding. NASA is getting I think they may be home now, but the International Space Station, which has been orbiting since June, the two astronauts are finally headed back to Earth. Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams are expected to arrive on the coast of Florida around 6 p.m. Yesterday, Eastern Standard Time. And Wilmore and Williams' mission was only intended to last 8 days, but turned into a 9-month ordeal due to technical issues with their spacecraft. So I'm sure they and their families are glad to be back on Earth. And if you're a sports fan, Peanuts, Crackers, and Cracker Jacks now kind of partnering with private equity. What does that mean? The San Francisco Giants have sold about 10% of the team to the private equity group 6th Street. Terms weren't disclosed, although Forbes recently valued the franchise at $3.8 billion. What does this all mean? The combination of relaxed ownership restrictions and big live audiences for baseball particularly have turned the professional sports franchise into investor catnip. Half of Major League Baseball teams have private equity connections, according to the Times. And Fed's outlook toward these clouded and I guess we'll call them pains in the behind tariffs. While almost no one expects the Federal Reserve to move on interest rates today, the outlook for its quarterly economic projections is less clear. The ripple effect on tariffs, consumers have already begun to expect higher prices, whether or not the proposed levies come into force. It's complicating the calculus behind the central bank's projections for inflation, growth, and interest rates. That's because the mere anticipation of higher prices can contribute to faster consumer price growth. So, in other words, simple language, stuff's going to get more expensive. And the Fed is not going to be able to offset some of those things with inflation, as the Orange Menace said that he was going to control. We knew that was a lie. We didn't try to tell you, we told you. We're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what's missing in this conversation right now about this tearing down of our institutions. Number 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Give us a call or send us a text. Either way, we will do our best to get you on with our tight schedule in today. So I was thinking yesterday about just sort of all these crazy things that are happening and the machinations that are happening and all the hurt that's coming down on so many people. Not going to come down, but already happening. And it crossed my mind, Henry, and I was like, okay, this country has its ills, but it has its greatness, and it has for a long time. And there's always things that we're pushing the country to do better at. Aspirational is what we are. Perfection is certainly not, but striving to be better. And this tends to happen to me. I watch Finding Your Roots with Dr. Henry Louis Gates, and I watch some public television because oftentimes, in fact, most every time, any show you watch on public television, WTTW, and is going to make your brain kind of expand a little bit or remind you of things that have happened in our country, historical perspectives. One of the things that crossed my mind yesterday is, where are the quote-unquote old school Republicans? And I don't mean the ones that are in Congress now, that are in the House or in the Senate. I'm talking about ones that have served and have left office for whatever reason, that have always stood. I always felt that if I didn't agree with some of the things that they were saying or doing politically, the one thing that I could probably count on is that they weren't going to try to tear down parts of the country. Now, I'm not crazy, and I know that some of you may go, yeah, but they were pretty damn destructive. Yes, I agree with that. But I never got the sense that George Bush, certainly his father, I never got the sense that, Condoleezza Rice, who I don't agree with on a lot of things, or folks like Kay Bailey Hutchinson and even Paul Ryan to some extent. Others, names that come to mind like Rob Portman and Dan Quayle, Pat Toomey. These are some of these sort of previous generation of Republicans. And maybe I'm wrong here, guys, and I will certainly appreciate the commentary that you may throw at me on this. But the thing that I would say to some extent is that, and this is what hit me yesterday, so this is why I'm kind of workshopping this. Where are they? I mean, I don't expect some of the people that are currently in office on the Republican Party. I don't expect Mike Johnson. I mean, many of the Republicans in the House of Representatives are chronologically younger than I am, and see the world maybe a little bit differently. They are part of that They're like the Musk and the Peter Thiels and the J.D. Vances in many ways. They grew up during a time where there was a shift in our social dynamics when it comes to gender, and they were forced in many ways to recognize the power of women in our economy, and so they're a big part of the pushback with women's rights. That age group is a big part of the pushback, and I've talked about this before. And then you add in some of the other factors with Musk and Peter Thiel and their sort of ascent through apartheid South Africa. And you can add a lot of other pieces to this, but I'm not really talking about where are those folks. I'm talking about those that are probably in their late 60s to early 70s. Where are they? Because I never got the impression that those voices, and again, I just came up with a short list of people. I never, Paul Ryan maybe could take off the list, but I never got the feeling that, Bush too wanted to tear down institutions. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm workshopping this a little bit. I never got the impression that even Condoleezza Rice, who was a war hawk, wanted to tear down. I mean, I can't see her acquiescing to Putin. I can't see a Kay Bailey Hutchinson or, again, Portman or Quayle or Toomey, and the list goes on of them acquiescing to a foreign power like that. I can't see them saying we need to tear down. And I know that Bush, there was a time where they wanted to privatize certain things. I understand that. I was plugged in. But I just didn't see them having an external character like an Elon Musk and all the things that I paid attention to for years, wanting to tear down agencies that would directly impact their constituents. And I guess that's the kind of the puzzle piece that I'm trying to put together. They knew that those agencies were important to their constituents. So it just popped into my head, guys. I don't have an answer, and I know that some of you probably have an answer or a contribution to that, but I wanted to just put it out there. Why aren't they speaking up and saying that this is not right? This is crazy. There's no direction. I don't know. Just wanted to know. Just wanted to see what you guys thought about that. And you may have your own list of those quote-unquote Republicans who we oftentimes say were the rational Republicans. And I do believe that they exist. But I also know that they're ones who were, not necessarily willing to play ball to do the right things. So there's the question. We had a great opportunity to put together this quick clip before we go to our break and our guest at 6:30. And I'm not always on point with everything that he says, but what he says in this clip is spot on. And we had this great opportunity to bring you this clip from Ezra Klein as he appeared on MSNBC with Stephanie Ruhle.
Efficient at what? It drives me crazy. Look, you can be real efficient at citing fossil fuel, and you can be efficient at building clean energy, and those are opposite visions of the future. You can be efficient at driving people out of this country, at deporting people, and you can be efficient at building affordable housing for the people in this country, and they're opposite visions of the future. Yeah, I'd like a Department of Government Efficiency, but I would also like a government that is led by people who have a humane vision of the future. And the problem with DOGE, the problem with Trump, the problem with Musk, the problem with Vance is not just that they are trying to break the government and corrupt it, though they are. It's that their vision of the future is terrible. Their vision of the future is cramped. Their vision of the future is a rollback to the 19th century. Not just the 19th century in terms of our morals and our values and the way we think about human dignity and who can be here, but also even just the economy. America has become and remained the strongest economy in the world because it is deeply integrated at the frontier of ideas. And they have zero respect for it. It's astonishing. The idea that we're going to make every piece of these complex supply chains here while we alienate every single ally we've made.
And let's be clear, there's absolutely no plan to build out the supply chain here. Zero.
It's not detox of the economy, they're poisoning it. Their vision sucks. So the problem is not just efficiency. Yeah, I want a Department of Government efficiency, that's fine. But I want efficiency towards an end, towards a vision of the future that isn't terrible, a vision of the future that imagines more for us, a vision of the future that has innovations we actually want. Elon Musk is a walking object lesson in how much can be created with public-private partnerships. This guy every company he has built is built on federal money, and here he is destroying the federal government and pulling up the ladder after him. I cannot say, it is a terrible vision. Efficiency in service of a horrible idea of the future is not efficiency. That's just the wrong path.
So
I caught this clip and I thought, man, this really kind of nails it. There's no vision. There's no vision. And I've always felt that when I'm solving a problem or when I'm trying to accomplish something, it's what do I see it being or looking like or feeling like? And even when it comes to preparing for the show each day and where we go each day, I have a vision of where I'd like to go that's beneficial, not just to me, but to everyone that listens to the show and follows the show. And so I like what Ezra Klein says there. There's no vision. That is a vision that's all encompassing and all inclusive. I don't think if there is a vision, it's a vision toward exclusion and not a mindset that takes us forward in a way that does involve all of the players, means all of our players. And to me, that's just it was a good clip. It caught my eye and it tied into what I was saying about the old school Republicans. And I don't get me wrong. I know that there are some Republicans that we could kick to the curb for a variety of good reasons. At the same time, I do feel like they should be stepping up, standing up, speaking up. And some are popping their heads up there. But again, it's an assault on your people too. And that's the part that, that's troubling. I hate to use that word because I sound like I'm Mitt Romney, but it's a problem for me because Henry just cracked up laughing because it's something that they've said they stood for. And maybe the answer is in my own question is that they never really stood for it. I don't know. And again, I'm very quick to ask a question that I don't need to have an answer to myself because oftentimes I want to hear what other people have to say in that space. And that's why I'm putting it out there to you guys. And now the Republicans that are in control or leadership don't give a darn. And that's, that's why we have, I think, this huge disconnect. So I don't have an answer. I have some thoughts about it. And one of them is maybe they never really were the Republicans that we thought they were or gave them credit for being. But I thought that they said they cared about the country. And that, to me, doesn't seem to be representative of their current behavior. So we have our responsibilities and the work to do as progressive liberal Democrats. Don't get me wrong. I recognize that every day. But I am curious, where are those so-called old school, fight for everything Republicans? I don't see them stepping up and being willing to push back and taking some hits. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking with the president of Working Women's History Project, Amy Lakin. The number is 773-763-9278. Don't worry, guys. We will get your calls.
It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Chew's Views, 773-763-9278. So we talk about oftentimes the local issues that are, of course, regional and national in their impact. And this morning we have with us the president of Working Women's History Project. Welcome to the show, Amy Lakin. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on. How are you today?
I'm good. I appreciate you getting up early with us this morning and, kind of putting it in gear to go forward to talk about the wonderful work that you guys are doing at the Working Women's History Project.
Well, I'm happy to do it. Is there a specific place you'd like me to start?
Well, actually there is, because one of the things that I always want to encourage is for folks to get involved with local, if you will, organizations. Tell our audience a little bit about Working Women's History Project, and bring folks up to speed, and more particularly, let us know a little bit about your background in this space.
Well, let's see. Working Women's History Project is a nonprofit organization that started in, say, 1996 as the Women and Labor Project. Tells the stories of Chicago women who have been fighting to achieve rights and benefits for women in the workplace and other social arenas. We do this in a number of ways. We collect art stories and interview women who are local women who are current, and publish their stories in our newsletter. We also do historical research on women from the past who have fought and struggled for these rights. We've created performance pieces and held short plays based on women's stories and their oral histories. So that's pretty much what we do. We have an event coming up next Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's called... should I go ahead and talk about it?
I definitely want to hear more about that. It's going to be exciting from everything that I'm hearing and reading.
Well, I hope so. It's titled Immigration, Hopes, Resilience, and Challenges on Wednesday, March 26th, a week from today, 5:30 to 7:30 at Gage Gallery at Roosevelt University, 425 South Wabash. And what we're planning is some audience participation, preferably students, but also other members of the audience, reading from interviews done with recent immigrants. No names will be used, obviously, to protect people's privacy, and in the current climate, we don't want to expose people unnecessarily, but to explain to the public some of the circumstances that led them to come to this country. That will be followed by a panel discussion. We have a great panel, very distinguished people, moderated by Shia Kapos, who is a reporter for Politico and author of the Illinois Playbook, Xochitl Parra, professor of Latin American and Latino Studies, University of Illinois, Chicago, Dixon Romeo, the executive director of Southside Together, which is a merger of Not Me, We, and Stop, S-T-O-P, and Sende El Soto, Chief Homelessness Officer of the Office of the Mayor of the City of Chicago. Tickets are on sale now. If you go to our website, www.wwchicago.org, you can go to the top, and it'll have a little space that says events. If you click on that, a pull down comes down, and it'll say current events and past events. Click on current events, take you right to the site where you can get tickets, but our registration closes tomorrow.
Okay. That's going to be an exciting event, and you've got a great panel of folks that are from different parts of the community, but representative of. When I think about immigration, I think about diversity. I think about progress. I think about something that was just in a clip that I had on prior to you coming on from Ezra Klein in terms of our economy. And I think about how immigration has been one of the biggest factors in contributing to this great economy that we have as a country. But at the same time, it's also been one of the most important parts of our society, because it's allowed us to be welcoming. It's allowed us to show our strength. in the midst of the battle for human rights. And so I'm excited about your event. It's called, for those of you who didn't catch it, it's called Immigration, Hopes, Resilience, and Challenges. And all three of those words are definitely part of immigration, not just here in Chicago, but immigration throughout the United States. So, Amy, tell me this. With regard to WWHP, what are some of the, when you guys go back in your history and look at going back to 1996, what have been some of the signposts or bright spots or things where you said, wow, we really had we had a big accomplishment here? What have been some of those successes?
Well, I think what I would start with on that is something that led me to Working Women's History Project. That was back in 2011. If you may remember or may know about it, because it's really a New York story, but it's also a labor story and has some implications in Chicago. 2011 was the 100th anniversary of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. Mm-hmm. And I had, with other people too, I had thought that there was a good way to tell a story on that here, because Chicago had a flourishing textile and needle trades business here, also with working women involved in pushing for their rights. In 1910, there was a Hart Schaffner Marx walkout and strike and so forth. So there were two events held to commemorate it. One of them held solely by Working Women's History Project, with speakers on worker safety and a play about it written by a local playwright. So that was one of our highlights. Another one was what we launched in advance of the 100th anniversary of women. Not all women, as we know, but many women in this country achieving the right to vote. And leading up to that, in 2018, that anniversary, we also staged a play, Radical Ideas, Women and the Vote.
That's really cool. I got to tell you, I was watching a show on WTTW about the flight attendants' plight over the years and how women, specifically as flight attendants, were treated and how that evolution changed and timed in with the civil rights movement as it relates to how women were treated as flight attendants. And a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this, that the airlines that were, doing their best to hire women as flight attendants, or stewardesses as they were called then, were relegated to working up until the age of 32, and then they were no longer welcome, and basically their career as a flight attendant was over. And then a woman by the name of Dusty Rhodes took the mantle of we're going to change that, and we're going to use all the tools we have to fight that. And so it was really an eye-opener for me, and I remember Dusty Rhodes growing up as a kid, but I didn't remember and put two and two together as it relates to some of the milestones that took place as a result of the fight of our flight attendants. So it was great to have a little bit of a history lesson in watching this show on WTTW, much like what you've been a champion for with the work that you guys are doing at the Working Women's History Project. On your event next week on the 26th, have you seen a pretty good response so far in terms of people that are looking to show up?
Yeah, yes, we have, but we are still looking for more people to come and join us. I forgot to mention earlier on, there will be some light refreshments prior to starting the program. And, we are hoping that in the next day or so, more people will sign up, decide to join us, and come for what we believe will be a stimulating and thought-provoking program.
One of the things that I was curious about in terms of immigration, who are some of your allies? Who are, I should say, some of the people that you're working with here in Chicago? I know that you've got Cindy Soto, who's part of the mayor's office on homelessness. But as it relates to immigration, are there other allies with the city of Chicago that you're working with in this space? Because obviously it's such a huge issue in the country, but most certainly here with the amount of folks who have been bused to the city of Chicago and the greater state of Illinois.
Well, on an individual basis, some of us have been working or volunteering, I should say, with various local organizations and church groups. One of the organizations that I was in contact with, who recommended one of the panelists, is the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. They're not specifically working with us on this program, but I got a recommendation for a panelist from them.
That's great. What about, excuse me, right now, what involvement do you have, if any, with the literal number of folks that have, and I can't put it any other way than to say it, that were bused or shipped here by the Texas Governor Greg Abbott? Are you involved in any way in helping, or are your volunteers involved, particularly the number of women who have been impacted by this and that have been, part of this, busing of people to Chicago?
Well, we are a very small nonprofit. As an organization, we haven't actually worked specifically to help specific groups. But as I said, on an individual basis, many of us have worked with religious organizations and things like that. We have done some interviews with some people that we believe were bused from Texas, and we'll hear more about that hopefully at the event next week.
Got it. Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people are concerned about right now with federal programs being cut and small organizations like yours, obviously always fighting for your seat at the table and always fighting for whatever funding is out there. How do you guys go about getting your funding?
Well, that's a good question because, as I said, we are very small. We have a small board. We do not have an office. We have no paid staff. We basically exist on donations. There was one of our board members who was also very active in labor issues in the Chicago Teachers Union, the Women's Rights Committee. Sadly, she passed away nearly 3 years ago, but she'd written a book called Working Without Uniform. She was a school nurse prior to retirement, and she donated the proceeds from that book, which helped us tremendously.
One of the things that you guys have really been focusing on is helping to inspire young women to get involved, and particularly when it comes to any social issues, but specifically social issues that impact younger women. What's sort of your effort there? What are you doing in that space?
Well, for a while, we had been on hiatus because we've had some technical issues with our website, which is newly relaunched. Please check it out, www.hpchicago.org. But along those lines, we've had some young women working on our website up till now. Just recently, we had a young woman redesign it. Prior to her, there was somebody else. So we were approaching people that we knew or from word of mouth who had worked with some younger women, Gen Z and so forth. We had a young woman a couple of years ago who, well, she's since graduated, but she was a student at Harold Washington College. She helped us out quite a bit.
And do you have any allies isn't the word I'm looking for, but partners that you're working with in other communities? So, for example, are you able to do any outreach to younger women or women in general outside of the city of Chicago? Are there other groups like you that you're partnering with that that are kind of taking on a similar effort with regard to not only just younger women but immigration in general?
Well, we have worked over the years with many different partnering organizations. Most don't have a specific aim of working with immigrants per se, but some have. We have partnered, for example, with Center for New Deal Studies out of Roosevelt University, who is, by the way, hosting us for our event. So we are partnering with them in this case. We have partnered with other organizations that have younger women members, the Vivian G. Harsh Society out of the Regional Library on the South Side, League of Women Voters of Chicago, SEIU Healthcare Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, and Kansas, which has younger women, some younger women working with it.
So with the partners that you are working with, have they been able to help you in some ways when it comes to funding or resources in general? Are you able to kind of partner with them in that way? What's happening in that space?
Yes, in this particular case for this event coming up, we are partnering only with Roosevelt University. But in the past, most of the time when we've held events, we've had 2 or 3 other partners that have been contributing money for the event. For example, if we had to pay for a venue, which we don't with Roosevelt, we have in the past, or refreshments or things like that. And, of course, publicizing the event, getting their members and the members to attend and notifying them in that way.
Got it. Well, Amy, it's been great talking with you. I mean, so many people don't know about so many of the organizations in Chicago and other communities that are, as I like to say, on the ground, sleeves rolled up and elbows deep, working to have an impact and working to have a change in the community. But any issue that I think is a local issue, in most cases, is a larger regional and national issue. And when it comes to immigration particularly, that's one that we all right now know is incredibly important in the country, and how our administration on a federal level is handling it, or depending on how you look at it, not handling it and causing more havoc. But it's been great having you with us, and I want to just kind of go over again the event and where and what it's going to be. It's the Immigration Hopes, Resilience, and Challenges. It's going to be held next Wednesday, March 26th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Gage Gallery at Roosevelt University, which is located at 425 South Wabash here in Chicago. Great panel of moderators that will be there, and an opportunity for folks to attend and be part of the audience participation with questions and such. So it'll be a great opportunity. You can get tickets. You can get tickets at the website, and I'll let you read that off to us one more time, Amy, before we let you go.
Okay, www.hpchicago.org. Click on events, upcoming events, and that'll take you to a place where you can get tickets. And by the way, there is a really nice exhibit up at Gage Gallery called Love Letter to Black America. So it'll be an opportunity to see that as well.
Fantastic. Well, Amy, thanks for being with us this morning. And I'm going to do my best to try to make my way over to the event for at least a little bit. I know that you guys have a lot going on, but we definitely we appreciate the fact that you've been able to be with us this morning.
Well, and thank you so much for having me, and have a good rest of the day.
You too, Amy. Thanks so much for being with us. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Amy Lakin, president of Working Women's History Project. WWHP.com is where you can go to check out their website and to possibly get tickets to go to their event. And again, I want to read that. It's next Wednesday, March 26th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Gage Gallery at Roosevelt University here in Chicago, 425 South Wabash. If you are in Chicago, check it out. It'll be a good opportunity to be involved and meet some people who are directly involved in helping with our immigration concerns here in the city of Chicago, if not the greater community of Illinois and the rest of the country. So check it out. Henry, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll grab a couple of quick calls. The number is 773-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Check out Amy Lakin's event with the Working Women's Project, History Project here in Chicago. And so one thing that I can say is that when we have local organizations and are doing the work that they're doing, a lot of times, and she talked about this in terms of they're small, they don't have a lot of employees and have an office, but they're still doing the work. And that's where you guys can, again, get involved and find a way to be a participant with an organization that their intent is to affect a national issue. So check them out. Let's go to Pam real quickly here in Chicago. Pam, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Oh, good morning, Richard. Richard, we are in a sad state right now as a country, and I have a question.
What's that?
When are we going to admit that we are currently, as I've heard some of the guests on WCPT say, that we are in a fascist state, an authoritarian state? When are we just going to call it what it is? Because we keep saying democracy is fleeting and we're trying to hold on to our democracy. At some point, we're going to have to state that we're in it, and what do we do? And, Richard, you talked about all of those names you called. There was such an attack on our democracy, on anybody other than white people or white poor people. There was such an attack way back when. Richard, I know you're familiar with an organization called ACORN.
Yep.
And at the time, they were about 800,000 strong, just trying to help people, social issues. I remember I worked with them in getting people loans who were trying to get homes. I mean, they just did so much. And they were immediately attacked by, you remember Breitbart News,
yep,
and that conservative wing, right? So I know I'm going back a little bit. But I'm saying all of that leads us up to now. And you still have people in denial. And those same Republicans who participated in that back then are complicit now. And so I think the Republican Party is a fascist party. When are we going to admit that?
Yeah, Pam, one of the things that...
And just tell the truth.
No.
Yeah.
And I agree with you for reminding us of that. The reason I asked the question is about where are those Republicans, because those are the Republicans who tried to give us the impression, let me put it that way, to try to give us the impression that they cared about the country and all of its parts. And when you bring up ACORN, I think about that in terms of, they were trying to help folk. And unfortunately, those same Republicans were the ones that in many ways got in the way at that time. So I hear what you're saying. And the reason that I asked the question is those are the people that were supposed to be the sensible Republicans, or the ones that, wanted to see a stronger country, all these things, all these, great phrases. But where are they now? Because that's why I said that those folks are their former constituencies are being impacted by what the current administration is doing. And to that point about fascism, they unfortunately, as I at the same time that I asked that question earlier, I also look at it from a very realistic perspective, which I try to do, is that they in many ways contributed to where we are today because of what they didn't do then. So I didn't ask the question out of ignorance. I asked the question out of, I thought you all cared, because yes, you are. We're not heading toward. Some could say the train has already left the station, and it's a question of how fast is this fascist train going to move. But the train has already left the station. We're not getting to the station and going to have this start. It's already started. It's already in motion. And that's where, to your point about being honest, we do have to be honest brokers in that space. The train's already left the station.
And Richard, I didn't mean to imply that you did. I knew exactly why you asked that, so I'm glad you did. And my last comment would be, but, the Republican Party, there has always been some con game, because, and I'll leave with this. Remember when Bush came with that compassionate conservative?
Yep.
And that's what a lot of black pastors and others brought to the community. Oh, they're compassionate. It's a different party. It never was. And I think what was happening then led to where we are now. And so now we're having to push back and fight back. I never give up. I mean, it may look bleak, but we must continue to fight, because that's in the spirit of what we've done in the black community since being kidnapped and brought over here and enslaved. We fought.
We can,
right? So all of us have to do it.
One of the things that I believe is important is when it comes to acknowledging something, Pam, and I'll leave you with this. To your point.
Sure, and I'll hang up, Richard. I know you have other callers. Thank you.
You're welcome, Pam. What I want you guys to hear about the nexus of this is, to Pam's point, we do have to acknowledge and admit and say it before we can fight for it, if you understand what I'm saying. It's sort of like, if you've got an issue, you got to diagnose and acknowledge that there's an issue, and then fight to fix it. And that's, I think, part of what Pam, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but that's what so many people are saying. We have to acknowledge that that the train has left the station. And then we can fight to stop the train. It's letting it get down the tracks too far. We know it's already left the station. Let's be honest with ourselves, to Pam's point. It's the question of what are we going to do to derail it? And acknowledging that it's left the station is good medicine for us, rather than pretending that it hasn't. All right, we're going to go to a break.
Welcome back to Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Welcome back, progressives. Chew's Views, 773-763-9278. Give us a call, send us a text message, and you can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. As I say always, guys, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, because there is lots of good stuff there. We've got clips, we've got articles that are posted, and most definitely, when you're there, you can also make sure you get tickets to our 20th anniversary, May 3rd. Broadcast at Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli and Bakery up in Northbrook. Hal Sparks, Joan Esposito, Scott Duff, Patty Vasquez, and myself, I will be there broadcasting live 11 to 3 on that Saturday. Special guests will be there as well. Learn more, get your tickets by visiting heartlandsignal.com/anniversary. Tickets are $20 each, so make sure you get them. They're going fast. All righty, it's Wednesday, and when it's Wednesday, that means that I have the opportunity to chat with my good friend and podcast influencer, Kurt Mullet from Hoosier Blues 63. That should be a tip that I got a chance to check out. Your most recent event, I guess you could call it, on the podcast that you want, but you just been busy. Period. This past week, you've been running around with roller skates on. Talk to us about a couple things. You had an event down in Indianapolis that you were part of, and then you were on a podcast with the good folks over at Project Next Movement. So take it away, Kurt. How did things go with the event?
Well, first off, good morning to you, and good morning to Ann.
And good morning to Diane. That's right.
The event in Indy is this weekend, actually. It's actually Saturday.
Okay.
It's taking place at it's a People's Town Hall. It's taking place at Broadway United Methodist Church on East 29th Street in Indianapolis. They reached out to me and invited me to be part of it. It's a new organization, Hoosiers for Democracy, and they're just trying to get involved, like so many people around our country and in our state are trying to do, to fight fascism and what's taking place in our country right now. So they reached out, and me and a couple other people are going to be involved in it, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great experience. So, and then the podcast is done by some people in our state. They started it a few months ago, and for the same reasons, trying to fight what has taken place in our country and in our state. And, many people are not familiar with everything that goes on in Indiana, which I can understand that. There's enough white noise everywhere else, but the things that are happening in Indiana are just, we're at the forefront of Project 2025 being implemented into policy. So, and we had our chair elections this past weekend on Saturday, and it just created more division within our party. So it's on one hand, I'm trying to reach out and do as much as I can and be as positive and talk about things, but on the other hand, it's absolutely just it's discouraging to see what's taking place within our filing ranks. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. So
let me ask you. Let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious because I've been watching some of the things that you've posted. And by the way, guys, you need to go to Who's Your Blue 63 to check out Kurt's work. You have to do that. I know that we have him on the show every Wednesday, but check out his work and follow him. I want to come back to something, though, that you said about the file of the rank and file Democrats and kind of the dissension, if you will, in terms of your experience in Indiana. Now, is this happening? I don't know. I want to ask a why question, but that's such a broad question. But so I'll ask a specific question. Is it happening because Democrats in Indiana, based on your experience and your knowledge, are afraid? I got a text from someone earlier that answered the question about what I asked about where are those so-called old school Republicans that care about the country. And one of the texts that I got was they're scared of his MAGA supporters coming for them. So I'm going to layer that over onto the Democrats in Indiana that may be moderates or whatever. But is that why there's a dissension in the party there, or what you're seeing, or is it because of something else? And I could list a number of things, but what are you seeing as a reason why? Are they worried that the MAGA folks in Indiana are going to come after them for being Democrats, or what are you saying?
Well, I mean, you're asking a question that, oh my man, it covers. I mean, where do you start? And I know that you and I, even though we have an enormous amount of similar views, we are a little bit different on this category right here, because we do need to lock elbows and stand shoulder to shoulder, but that's not what is happening in our party. I'm a lot more critical about our party and what their actions are than what you are, and that's just the difference between you and I, okay? I have felt like Democrats, we've allowed this to happen. Mm-hmm. We've been sitting on our hands for a long time, okay? Why this guy wasn't arrested, when Biden was inaugurated, when a lot of Republicans were still on the fence about blaming him for January 6th, why they didn't act on that right then and there and stop this, I will never know, okay? Why we didn't contest the elections of 2024, bring out the bomb threats that occurred, and the stuff that Greg Palast and so many other people brought to light, why we didn't do anything about that, I'll never know. Why we're putting 71-year-old lifetime politicians ahead of our oversight committees instead of people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett, I'll never know.
Yeah.
And that is what's happening in our state. Democrats are they're complicit. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to create any reverberation through anything. We don't want to, we selected a Democratic chair in our state. We had a 41-year-old who ran for Attorney General. She's active military. She's an attorney. She's a progressive liberal. She has the respect of not only boomers in our state, but all progressive liberals, Gen Zers, millennials. And what did we do? We elected a 74-year-old lifetime politician who is going to do nothing and who has just created more division in our party. And I think that's what's happening in our country right now. You know, we need to pay attention to the things like what Cliff Cash is being involved in and the reaction that people are having in this country. People are upset about what's going on. People are becoming more critical of those that are not doing anything that are in charge. I have a ton of respect for Hakeem Jeffries, but he's dropping the ball right now. And I know, again, me and you have a little bit of a different, take on these things, and I understand that.
Well,
but that's how we progress.
I agree with that. I think that friction creates strength, but I wouldn't say we have a difference. I think it's a difference in how we present it, because I guess, yeah. I wanted to let you get that out because I know you needed to say it. But here's the thing that I'll say, and this is why that's the beauty of having someone observe what you're doing. I have felt for the longest time that the Democrats need to knock over some more tables, and I've said that for a long time. And let me put it to folks this way. I think that our Democratic leadership has been less than vigilant, and across the board, if we were to say that across the board, I think that we would all agree that that's what's, in terms of dropping the ball, to your point, that's one of the things that's happening. And that is that the Democratic Party has not given the voting community a sense that they're fighting 24/7, and that there's no way in hell that either of the two leaders of the minority party, Schumer or Jeffries, should have even come out of their mouth to get along with Trump. It should never have come out of their mouth. And there should have been we're going to oppose him on every single step in every single way, because there's nothing that he is doing that's good for the country. So I've been saying for a long time, before we met, you and I, that the Democratic Party needs to come to the party to knock over some tables, and that should be there. They should start there and then work from there. Unfortunately, here's the part that a lot of people, and this is where most people won't be critical of this that I'm about to say. The voters is ultimately who got us here. Okay. Now, if we rewind to the lack of prosecution of Donald Trump, that I could put in, frankly, President Biden's lap, because he should have never, ever, and this was coming from, candidly, the black community from the jump, that he should have never put Merrick Garland up as the AG. It should have been someone with a lot more fire in their belly, and there was a laundry list of people that could have done a better job. So I just want to make sure I don't leave that one untouched. There should have been a different person selected. We know that. We can't fix the fact that he did it. And along the way, he should have been willing to say, he's not getting the job done. I need to drop him and go with somebody else. Unfortunately, because we didn't have the numbers in the House, and we barely had the numbers in the Senate, I think he knew he wasn't going to be able to get someone approved, if you will, or put through. Now, our citizenry on the Democratic side is a larger percentage of people that didn't show up. Did they not show up because they didn't like the fact that there wasn't fight in the belly from our elected officials? Probably so in many ways. So that's where you and I are shoulder to shoulder and agree. Our elected officials need to fight harder and be unapologetic and fully willing to take the hits when it comes to the fights that we're in. I agree with you there. I mean, and I apologize for saying, putting it the way I am. You're the word guru. I'm the word
butcherer, okay?
No, you don't have to apologize.
I'm not as good with.
Listen, man, I'm from Chicago. Not only do I have thick skin, I have broad shoulders. I can take it. But see, here's the thing that I think.
Well, I wasn't being critical. I was just
approach. It's just approach. It's approach.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I think a lot of people want to hear, Kurt, right now from all Democratic voices is they don't give a damn. Last week when I was talking with U.S. Representative Nikki Brzezinski, and I said to her, we want you to know that it's okay to knock over some tables. We have your back. That's right. What they need to be willing to take the hit for calling people out. Or if it's on mic, as I said, if they got a curse on mic, then do it, because that's what people want to see and hear. And whether it be in the state of Indiana or it be in the state of Illinois or any of the other 48 states and across the country, that at the end of the day, I believe, is what Democratic voters are missing or that they are craving for, is some Democrat. And that's why Crockett and ALC, the younger voices, are getting so much positive attention, is because they are saying the things that people want to hear. And there just needs to be more of that from the elected officials in any state legislature.
The governor from Maine. Look at the governor from Maine.
Yeah.
What happened after what she said?
Yeah,
I can't remember her name. Yeah.
She stood up to him right there. I mean, let's be honest.
All of a sudden, America knew who she was.
Right, and she
because how many governors of Maine can you talk about? Anyway, go ahead.
No. She did it real time. She did it real time. Right. She said it right there to his face. Yeah, we'll see. When he said, we'll see in court, she said, yeah, we'll see how that will work. That's what people want, is right then and there. Now, I'm getting the various texts from people saying that's all true, Richard, and the mainstream media is dropping the ball because they don't even have the guts to challenge Republicans when it comes to interviews. That's another part of this. That's why social media influencers have spiked so much in the last 12 months, because the mainstream media.
Yeah, I would make a comment to that. So yeah,
even when the voices that we are appreciating and respecting are speaking loudly, the mainstream media is more in line with the voices that aren't making the noise. So I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that the mainstream media is more in line with the people that are going to be the softer approach and ones where they don't have to challenge anybody, or where they don't have to have any sort of real back and forth with their guest. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to what you just said, and people can, the easy way out is blaming mainstream media. I mean, I just take the approach, just ignore it, because if that's how you feel about it, why are you continuing to watch it? I mean, if you truly feel like they're to blame, don't watch it. There's plenty of other avenues to gather information, okay? And you have to be selective. And you have to double check things. When you read something, don't just take it for what it says. Do a little bit of research. We have a world of information in our hands, okay? All you got to do is a couple little searches, and you can verify if something's true or not. And that's what needs to be done. But I do think, and this is something, it's a negative and it's a positive, I think that social media influencers, depending on who you're talking about, have a huge impact on the public right now, in the public opinion. And I think this is something that also scares your basic gatekeepers of our party, because they know we have a voice, and they know that we have an audience that's listening to us. They know that the Richard Chews in Chicago are talking about this, and there's a vast amount of people that are listening to what Richard has to say. There's a lot of people that are listening to what I have to say, and we know that because of the feedback that we get. Okay, we talk to normal people. We are the ones that are, like you say all the time, have our boots on the ground, doing the work and talking to people that are living their lives just like me and you are. And we understand where they're coming from. These politicians that are in our state and in our country, they're out of tune. Most of them, I should say, are out of tune. And that is why the ones that are in tune, like the governor of Illinois and some others in this country, are so popular with people because they are not afraid to stand up there and tell it like it is and to say, hey, you're not going to do this to the people that I protect and I've been elected to serve, instead of those politicians like we have in Indiana and other places who are just walking along the line like they always have, not wanting to interrupt anything or to create any waves. So there's a change going on information, and this is part of it. So,
well, I think also, Kurt, and I'm getting comments from all over the place right now in terms of some agree with us, some disagree with us, some say that the young folks coming into the mix are not experienced enough to get the job done, and there's some that are saying we need change right now.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I gotta stop you. Okay, I am so tired of hearing this experience thing.
Right.
Okay? This is what was said in Indiana this weekend. Well, she's got experience. Well, let me tell you, my view on experience, your experience has got us to the point where we're at right now. The leadership in Indiana, your experience that you talk about, has created a bunch of losers in our party. We have no voice in our party. So your experience to me, that word just infuriates me, and I'm sorry, I got to calm down.
No, well, listen.
Because it is just...
First of all, we could go on for a full hour today. First of all,
I know.
What is the definition of experience and how is it applied? So I'm with you on that. Just because someone's been doing it for a long time doesn't mean that if anything, their experience should have taught them something that would allow them. That's, I guess, where the word wisdom comes in, and wisdom would be a better application. But you don't have to be doing something for X number of years to have the experience and the real-time awareness of what people, and this is the point about disconnect, the real-time awareness of what people are looking for. And so I got to come back to this clip that I played Ezra Klein. He talked about the word efficiency, or it being efficient.
Right.
You can be efficient at something that's a nuclear bomb is efficient, but highly harmful, right? It's very efficient, but it's destructive at the same time. So the question is, what is efficiency, what is experience, and how are they applied? Just because Chuck Schumer has been there for a long, long time doesn't mean that he's efficient, or effective is even a better word, to what the community of progressive liberal Democratic voters are begging for. And it shows itself that when in times like this, when, to your point, people are begging for effectiveness, they're begging for action, they're begging for energy. And I've heard...
They are asking for a new experience. They are tired of the experience that they have been dealt for so long. It's time to move on. And the only way that we make change is that we change the way that we view things and look at things. And these people that have been here forever, that are the experienced ones, have lost touch. And it needs to change.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that it's going to get much worse before it gets any better. And I hate the division that is within our party. But until we don't clean up our house and sweep our floors and clear all the dust away, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to be able to get anywhere. So,
and that's the sentiment that is the sentiment that and I'll take you back to the beginning of this week and the end of last week, and my position on why the Democratic Party right now is faltering, and that's because there's not a common message, and there's not a connected message. It's not one that people can buy into, because it's a singular, focused, simple message, and I don't mean dumbed down message. I've been criticized from folks saying you're dumbing down America. No, I'm not. I'm saying from a messaging standpoint, we need to be simple, we need to be direct and full of energy. And that's the part right now that from a leadership standpoint does not seem to be showing itself with the Democratic Party. Now, we have to, I said this earlier, to fix something, you've got to be critical of it so that you can then identify what the problem is and then go about having a plan to fix it. And the Democratic Party, in my opinion, has been talking a lot about the fact that we're disconnected and we have these issues, but they haven't come up with what the solutions will be. And that's the part that's missing in a major way. The mainstream media, they're doing their part, whatever that is. They're a business. They're about making the money they're going to make. They're about getting their relative tax breaks and whatever is going to allow and access and all. That's why they go for soft stories and soft people to talk to. But ultimately, we as consumers, we as voters, we as everyday people, I believe, have to be the ones at the tip of the spear to demand that our Democratic elected officials are working and operating in a much more forceful way. And Governor Pritzker here in Illinois is a good example of someone that says they're not going to take it and then stands behind it and gets something done about it. So,
that's why he has moved to the forefront of governors in our country, and Gavin Newsom has dropped dramatically.
Has. That's exactly right.
So he's off the table now. He done put a hole in his little boat.
Yeah, so. he has, and the fact that he's had certain people on the podcast is clearly evident that he's lost touch with what needs to happen. Governor Pritzker is the one that, as a governor, that's really making the statements. And again, like I said, he's standing behind them unapologetically and unafraid, and we have to have more of that with our Democratic leaders.
And let me tell you, the Republicans are scared of that dude, okay?
Oh, they are.
So Illinois is lucky to have him.
Yeah.
So, and I hope the country gets to experience him.
Yeah, without a doubt. Listen, man, we ran this play. We had to run this play until we got it right. As the old phrase goes, we gotta run this play until we get it right. So
got to do it again, man, because I missed the layup.
But we got to do it. We got to keep running this play. All right, Kurt. Yeah. Listen, man. Lots of positive comments from folks this morning that are saying Kurt's on point, Kurt's right, and we support where he's coming from. So you should know that.
I appreciate all those, and I love you, Richard. I appreciate what you do, man. And let's keep on keeping on.
Let's keep running that play till we get it right.
You got it.
All right, man. Have a great day today. We'll talk soon.
You too. Take care.
Take care. Bye now. Let's go to a quick break, guys. Excuse me. The number is 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Yeah, Kurt and I have to keep running that play, and we all have to keep running that play till we get it right. And this is where you get sharper and stronger, in my belief and experience. And that's why it's important to have the kind of energy that Kurt brings to the conversation, a boots on the ground guy that's in a state where, folks of his own party are not like lining up to get stuff done. So that's in addition to some of the national things that we're all seeing. That's an additional amount of frustration to be dealing with. But that's why we fight. That's why we keep pushing, and we push from all angles. This is why. All players means all players, and we have to participate. And I appreciate you guys sending me your texts in terms of where you stood on this issue of Democrats not being strong enough. My phrase, and I've used it many times, and I'm going to use it over and over again for a long, long time. Democrats need to come to the party with a sledgehammer, and they need to be willing to knock over some tables. I know that I've gotten some criticism from folks that have said that, Richard, you need to be careful with saying that. But ultimately, that's what needs to happen, Henry. I mean, when we back away from that because we're worried about what people are going to say about us saying it, we lose people. I think we lose more people. And I've gotten emails, I've gotten texts, and the list goes on that have said, Richard, when you say that, someone might not hear it the right way. Well, someone might hear it the right way. So, I have to be careful to not, in my own mind, back away because I'm worried about what someone's going to think or say or feel about it. It's not that I'm not concerned. However, what Kurt was saying, and I'm going to say it here, and hopefully you guys will get it. Damn it, we need to knock over some tables. And our leaders, all of our voices need to be of the mindset that we will. And if we worry, listen, if we worry about, there's a book I'm reading right now, and I'm going to say this, and then we're going to go to Cheryl. There's a book I'm reading right now that speaks to basically, the title of the book is called Let Them. And it's by someone that I've followed. I've heard me guys talk about this author, Mel Robbins. And one of the things that she talks about in the book, and I've been reading it for a little over a week now, is this, Henry. When we spend more of our time worrying about what people think about what we might do, that's one of the biggest things that causes us to procrastinate and not go forward. So to Kurt's credit, we do need to stop worrying about what somebody's going to say about what we're doing. Meanwhile, they're doing the thing that's harmful to us. So let me be clear. Bring a damn sledgehammer to the fight and knock over some tables. And if people don't like that, then maybe they're the problem. Particularly if there are people who don't understand that if we don't knock over the tables and bring the fight to the Republicans right now, then we're going to lose because, like I said earlier, the train has already left the station. It is, to Pam's point, it's not approaching to leave. It has left the station, and we have to derail it. And to derail a train, Henry, what does it take? Some energy to knock the train off its tracks. So, in case y'all weren't clear, I am a proponent of bringing sledgehammers to the fight with our ideas and with our voices. So I hope that you guys will go into your tool shed and find that sledgehammer that's sitting in the back behind all the other tools and bring it out to the front. That's right. You should have seen what Henry just did. All right. Let's not make Cheryl wait any longer. She's been great in hanging with us this morning. We have with us the Executive Director of People for Community Recovery, and this story will definitely inspire you. Good morning, Cheryl Johnson. Welcome to Choose Views.
Oh, good morning, Richard, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on the show this morning. I would say that you're probably someone that brings a sledgehammer to the fights that you've taken on and the work that you've had to do to make sure that our communities are not taken advantage of by higher powers. Would it be fair to say that you brought a few sledgehammers to some meetings?
Oh, I could say I have brought several hammers to the meeting, and no pun intended, but we women, we speak up, we speak out, we speak loud, and unfortunately, we carry a lot. So, and we do it because we care about our community and this country and the direction that it's going right now. You see more women speaking out than anything. So we just got to step it up.
Yeah.
My brothers and sisters out there,
We all do. And
I'm sorry. I agree 100% of that book you're reading, I would like to read that book also,
It's a great book, and it's called Let Them, and it really gets into the conversation around we worry sometimes too much about what other people say about what we're doing. If I were to give it a quick label, it says stop doing that. Let people say what they're going to say and do what they're going to do. You go do the thing that you know is right and believe is right. And so it's a good book. And Cheryl, the People for Community Recovery, talk a little bit about the organization and what one of your most critical concerns is right now here in the country. I'm sorry, specifically here in Chicago, but in the broader sense, what's happening in this space.
Well, you know what? I just want to say back to that book. I've been doing this work for 40 years, and if I didn't ever speak up or be afraid to say what's on my mind, we wouldn't have been at progress as we are here today. People for Community Recovery is a grassroots environmental justice organization that was founded maybe like 45 years ago to deal with challenges that affect people quality of life, particularly people who live in public housing is where our organization, where I currently live. Our organization was founded by my late mom, Hazel Johnson, who is known as the mother of environmental justice. We started because she heard that on television that the south side of Chicago had the higher incidence of cancer than any other area in the city of Chicago. And it was based on zip code. And our zip code was the number one community that was mostly negatively impacted. So when she heard that announcement, she started putting two to two together because my father, he died from lung cancer. It was a progressive lung cancer. It took him away within 6 months after being diagnosed. Then she started having a conversation around the community, and people was talking about, back in the 70s, people really, 60s and 70s, people, didn't really discuss cancer in their family. It was more like a secret health problem. But anyway, people in my community started telling her, so she started calling around to different places, and she got in contact with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. They sent her out a complaint form, and she went around the community and collected over 1,100 forms and sent them back to EPA. And people list all kind of health problems, from cancer, respiratory problems, skin diseases, birth deformity, miscarriages. So when they looked at it, they recognized that, people was putting all their health problems on there, but the survey was just the complaint form was just a complaint form, and it wasn't academically done, so they disregarded it. But it didn't stop us from continuing to fighting. So from her own personal research, she was able to document that we had over 50 landfills in our area, 250 leaking underground storage tanks, and over 300 some different type of manufacturing or processing or chemical facilities, in addition, along with the steel mills in the area. So she labeled our community the toxic donut. We like in the center of it, and outside the perimeter of the donut is all these pollutant entities, including the Little Calumet River, because we have 19 miles of riverways around us, but 11 miles is unfit for human consumption and recreation. But there's no advisory out there. So we fought back then to find an alternative fishing site for people in the community, and she worked with the state and the federal government back then, and they was able to create a man-made lake in our area called Flatfoot Lake. Now that people go there and they can fish, and the state put out a different school of fish every year. So that's just one example that we did. So we was able to join in a coalition of groups around the city of Chicago and put a ban on any extension or expansion of landfills in our area. And it went even a little farther on the state level, that any county that has over, I think, 2 million people, you cannot expand or build landfills in our area. So those are some of the few successes, and the most currently one that we was able to demonstrate that a classic environmental racism occurred in the city of Chicago. And we filed a complaint with HUD, and HUD sided with the community saying that, yes, our rights has been violated. And that's with the General Iron Shredder facility moving from the north side to the south side of Chicago. Working, and there's a collaborative effort now that never in the history of the city of Chicago, that community and city officials are sitting down talking about putting together a cumulative impact ordinance that is going to be named in honor of my mother. So we came a long way when I think about it, because if one of the things we had to speak out, because we've been speaking out for 40 years, and now today to see the rollbacks all the way far as back through the Clinton administration, when he created the first executive Environmental Justice Executive Order 12898.
Right.
So to see everything that we accomplished today is being rolled back, it's not nothing that
with the stroke
it's
of
not
the
nothing
pen.
I'm already used to. It's not nothing I'm used to, because I remember when we started, there wasn't no laws, there wasn't no policies around environmental justice.
Well, and
there was a lot of ignorance. Yes, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. I apologize for that, Cheryl. But to your point, I mean, Bill Clinton was really the first modern president, if you will, that recognized environmental justice or injustice, as it were. And here we are now, and just with the stroke of a pen, and that Trump has said some of the most chaotic and awful and insulting words behind this. I mean, and I'm basically going to quote what I researched and what Trump said. He's basically declared that recognizing poor communities that often bear the brunt of pollution amounts to illegal discrimination and is radical. In other words, Donald Trump is saying that recognizing safety for communities based on the fact that they may be communities of color is illegal discrimination against whom? Non-folks of color? And is radical? Well, maybe we should be radical about our environment. This is not just a Chicago issue. We know that it is because we're here and it's personal. This is a national issue. This is to some extent a global issue, but here in the United States, this is a national issue. And the country elected a person that doesn't give a damn about the environment, and in fact is creating by not legislation, by executive order, sending us down this path. So the fight, you are one of those fighters, Cheryl, that I talked about earlier, that brings, a sledgehammer to the fight. And this is one, and you've said it yourself, and your mother was an advocate of this, your late mother was an advocate of this. Yes, it's in specifically Black communities at its highest, but it's also in other rural communities where we see more Caucasian Americans that are in this fight, as well as folks that are in communities of color that are in this fight. So it's not just a community of color issue. It's a problem that the country has when it comes to this dumping, when it comes to toxic rivers, toxic lakes. And we can't have leadership that doesn't recognize it. Fortunately, Mayor Johnson, County President Preckwinkle, this is a big part of her platform because we talked about this with her on the show a few weeks ago, and the governor are all in alignment with why we have to fight hard in this space and create legislation here in Illinois that's going to be the representation for the country.
Well, I'm just trying to wrap my head around, what air does he breathe?
Right.
These people that make these decisions, what air do you breathe? What water do you drink? And just don't think that the land that Mar-a-Lago sits on is not at risk from many climate changes conditions that we are seeing and witnessing every day. So, it just bothered me this person just doesn't care because he thinks he's immune from the same air that we breathe. And he's not. He's just at risk, just as my community is at risk. Because what impacts one neighborhood impact every neighborhood. So I just don't understand him, and it's based on, at the interest of the bottom line. Making money. But see, we have to recognize that we play a role in this too, because we're the consumers of these things that these production companies, these chemical companies, manufacturing companies make. And we don't hold them accountable locally in our community.
That's exactly right. And one of the things that we can do in holding them accountable is to protest with our dollars. Is to make sure is to let them know we're not using your company, we're not using your product or your services, and I'm a big advocate of this. That if the company is not down with what's right for the community, then don't spend your money there. It's simple. And people think, well, what kind of impact is it going to have? one person leads to the next, to the next, to the next. It's a domino effect. And that's why this boycott, the 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago now? Almost 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago for sure, when we had the blackout on Target and other companies, when we were like, don't spend money on this particular day. That needs to be expanded. But you're right, Cheryl, that we have the power. I'm a big advocate of we can call out our officials all day long. And at the same time, this is the walk and chew gum part. We have to call out our officials and our business leaders. At the same time, we have to be activists. We can't be pacifist and hope that they're going to do the work. It's proven that they won't always do the work, and the work that they do isn't always going to be effective. I want to get your thoughts on something. And you said something. I love your point about the air in Mar-a-Lago and the land in Mar-a-Lago. That's so profound and so right on. But I want to ask you a question as we kind of wrap up. Mm-hmm. What is your feeling or your thought about political leaders that have been in position for a long time that aren't getting anything done for the masses versus younger voices, maybe more energetic voices? And I don't mean this as an ageism thing, but because there can be someone that's been doing it for a long time that's still got the fight, still got the energy. But what are your thoughts about that when it comes to any of our legislation or legislators and the energy that needs to be in our political conversation right now?
Well, I think that if your fight is exhausted, retire. Mm-hmm. Allow new voices to come in to pick up the mantle to fight, because that's what we elders are supposed to do. It's not that you're talking about age, discrimination with age or anything like that, because in my team, they're all in their 30s, they 20s, 30s, and 40s. I'm the oldest in the team, and they come with ideas and different strategies than what we use, but it's the same. It's the encouragement that I give to them to be able to go out here and challenge something that they're not used to challenging, and open up their eyes so they're able to see, that what is the best means and ways to challenge something that is not good for all of us. See, I'm not just fighting for my neighborhood. I'm fighting for everybody's quality of life, because everybody is being impacted. Don't think that these tornadoes, these floods, these fires is a call from nature. Yep. Because it's what we're doing to it. And at the end of the day, if these people don't recognize that climate change, for an example, is real, you're going to be, in fact, impacted also. Yep. And your body is not going to be able to protect you. So this is a quality of life, and what I hate what I see, but what I like what's going on is the unification of everybody coming together. Now we have something to talk about, to strategize collectively based on our communities, because we are all going to be impacted. Getting rid of our scientists from the federal level, getting rid of the experts, the subject matter experts that can help improve the quality of life of our environment in this country and globally. He's fired them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we don't know. That is very critical to us. We have to deal with what we got, but we got to take it local, take it on the state level, and make sure that we are doing the best to protect our particular cities and states, and being that voice, and being the voice that we're coming together to try to come up with common solutions, not try to stop businesses. We want businesses, but we want good business in our community that have good practices in our community. We want institutions to be developing community to teach people from the community how to be able to what I call create an environmental remediation workforce, because we know how to dirty up this country, but we don't have that workforce to really clean it up, and we got to clean it up. Look, we don't even have enough people to even clean up the simple fires. It's not simple. Let me take that back. The fires that have happened in California. We still don't have that workforce, you know? So let's create these workforces in our community. And that's why my organization had fought the City of Chicago Board of Education from demolishing a building in our community that we can use as an environmental institute to train ordinary folks, to inspire them to be the scientists that we need, or the engineers that we need, or the social workers that we need to make our quality of life better.
Man.
Because if you continue to make people sick, then people are going to always be angry. And I think our president is sick. That's why he's so angry.
Well, you know, Cheryl, I take a pause when someone is making the point, and as we say, preaching. And preaching with substance. And I so appreciate and applaud you for the work that you're doing and for being with us today. We got to wrap up the show, but I would like to have you let folks know how they can find you and how they can potentially get involved with the People for Community Recovery. Let us know how folks can find you.
Well, we are all on social media. Our website is pcrSHA.org, and many of our handles for all our social media is PCRSHA. So just get in contact with us. Go to our website. Look what some of the positive things that we are doing. So that's the way to get in contact. And if you want to contact us by phone, our number is 773-840-4618.
Fantastic. Cheryl, we're going to have you back because this is an ongoing topic, and it's one that's important not just to the local communities, but to the nation, and frankly, as we both said, globally. So thank you, Cheryl Johnson, for being with us this morning. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be back with you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Cheryl's great. I got to leave it there because I don't want to say anything to step on what she just said. And then we also got to wrap up the show. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today. We ran at full speed as we always do. So thanks to my man Henry for keeping us on the rails. Boy, what can I tell you other than take a deep breath and make your life count? We will see you tomorrow.